Everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show where we watch old 16mm films and delight in what we see. That was a home movie that featured some glorious homecoming parade footage. Man, those floats were so good. And then that little pocket cadet at the end. little guy. Anyways, all right. Speaking of little kids in weapons of mass destruction, I have a film set up here on the scanner, and it is not today's newspaper. It is called Discipline and Self-Control. And it looks like it might be part of a series that I have another film called First Friends. But man, it starts off with a bang. It is awesome. So hopefully the rest of the film will be good. But it's footage of young kids in a daycare situation, and it's like a nature film. It's so good. All right, anyways, here's Discipline and Self-Control. Enjoy.
In Head Start schools, or wherever young children are together, there are discipline problems. There are no fixed rules for dealing with them. The key to discipline is the teacher and the kind of person she is. A good teacher doesn't put up with everything, but she doesn't suppress children's strong feelings. And she is not infuriated by misbehavior. She is firm without being harsh, gentle without being weak. She responds to children without waiting for crises. She takes time to listen, to talk, to laugh with children. Because she likes children and takes them seriously, they listen to her.
First, his own check cap.
She establishes trust.
Ray caps.
Such warmth and respect prevent discipline problems. The successful teacher is neither bossy nor weak. She is a friendly grown-up, clearly in charge. Children thrive on respect and approval. Whenever they can, teachers give warm, sincere praise.
Oh, that's lovely, Timmy. I like the way you did that. Oh, I like that. You did it, didn't you?
I did too.
You did it.
Teachers don't demand instant obedience. They are patient and free with a friendly touch. Children feel good about themselves when the teachers let them help. Next to their parents, teachers are the most important adults in the children's lives. Teachers set examples in manner and in manners. If the teacher says please and thank you, the children will pick it up.
Laura, can I please have that purple crayon? That's it. Thank you. Here, why don't you... Would you pass the basket over to Janine, please? May I have it? Thank you.
Such an example of good manners is better than an impolite demand for polite.
I thought I told you to say please.
If teachers shove materials around roughly, children may do the same thing. Instead, they can learn to take good care of equipment.
These go over here, Michelle. The animals go over here. Just a minute. Because when you put them in the box, you have to put them in very gently. You have to be very careful. Oh, wonderful. I knew you could do that. All right? Now, she's going to put the drum in. Very good. I have them fit in there, and there goes Sharon. All right, there goes yours. Now, Mark puts it.
To be the right kind of person, the teacher must organize her program. In this room, the teachers have set things up in advance so that everything is under control when the children arrive. The teachers are free to welcome them and help them become fine. Teachers plan interesting programs. They know that boredom causes discipline problems. One kind of activity, like doll play, is balanced by another type, like woodwork. Quietly is balanced by active outdoor play, where children can use different muscles. Be vigorous indoor play. But a good program and good materials don't prevent discipline troubles by themselves. Thoughtful supervision is essential. The head teacher sees to it that there are always grown-ups where they are needed. Herself, or a mother,
The crayon's back in the box there.
or a teenage volunteer,
Would you mind taking Eric and changing his pants because he spilled some water on it? Okay, take him into the hallway and find a pair of clothes for him.
or another teacher. Teachers of young children cannot supervise from the sidelines. They must be warmly involved with children, but alert to what is going on all around. If there are duplicate toys, there will be fewer quarrels over possessions. Teachers let children know what's coming next.
We'll give Marty until it gets between the 7 and the 8, all right? And then I'll come over and tell you, okay? Tracy, in about 5 minutes we're going to put the toys away. So would you please finish up what you're doing? There's no hurry, but think about finishing.
Teachers avoid trouble if they see that children don't get in each other's way. These trains keep to a track around the chair. Good supervision includes letting children know the rules,
Where are you going to
clearly and simply,
Show me.
and if necessary, over and over.
You through with the apron, honey? It goes over there. Maybe you could pick all those aprons up.
The teacher must decide what is safe.
Well, she can jump from right there. She doesn't have to climb up. That's too high. That's too high.
She establishes rules about where wheel toys may go.
Eddie, you forgot where the road was. We said that it was this way. Do you remember? The highway is all around the black line.
The rules about taking turns.
Oh, wait just a minute. Wait a minute. Now, wait. Jean had it first. So please give it back. Give it to Jean. And it's Jean's turn now. And you use some of these other things. And after you have it a little while, then I want you to let Cortland use it. All right?
And the rules about using water.
Say, let me say something to you. Keep the water in the container. Well, we'll wipe it off. Here's a sponge, and I want you to keep the water in the container. Make it go in the cup, not at people or on people.
Stay at the table. All these rules help establish the atmosphere of order that children can depend on.
You need to stay at the table during juice time, Kim. Come back and sit down.
Even room arrangement can lead either to trouble or to good discipline. At first, this looks like a good arrangement. There are distinct areas for different activities. The huge gymnasium is divided by a wall of clothes cubbies. But it turns out that the wall invites escape to the far side, where the children vanish from view. They slip out into the hall, and could even leave the building. A separate painting room causes more trouble. When the teacher is here, she cannot watch any of the other activities. The corner, for instance, often goes unsupervised for a considerable period. The children's play can become increasingly disorganized and even potentially dangerous. 2 days later, the teachers have changed their room arrangement. The equipment has been moved to the sunny half of the gym. Cubbies are against the wall, and the easels have been moved in from the other room. Now that the real attractions are together at one end of this room, the children naturally flock where the teachers can help them. But even with the best planning, troubles do arise. How does the teacher deal with them?
I know how you feel, but I can't let you hit him. No.
She stops forbidden behavior, but accepts the child's
I
feelings.
know it's hard, but you can't do it.
Sneaking off with another boy's toy leads to resentment and trouble.
You don't... Here it is. Stephen, you don't have to hit him. You can tell him instead.
The teacher stops the fight,
You don't have to hit him. You know, listen.
then makes clear the rule about grabbing.
Away from him without saying, can I please have it? You just took it right away from him, Stephen. And you know, Brian is willing to give it to you if you can ask him. But you just can't come and pull things from people. Stephen.
But because she doesn't disgrace or punish the boy, he can move on without resentment.
You want to go over and play with the boys? No. No? All right. But you don't go and pull things from people.
She helps him change the subject.
Do you think it needs closing? Do you think the window needs closing? Is it warm or cold in here? Is it cold? All right, well then put both hands, one hand over.
A teacher may have to grab a child on the loose, but she does not scold angrily as she settles him down. She talks to him when he is no longer too upset to her. She does not hesitate to remove bodily a misbehaving child, but she doesn't resort to punishment.
I don't want you to go over there again. You wanted to work with something else. Why don't you think about what you would like to work with?
The teacher cannot allow this child to leave the room. After he has calmed down, she will stress the rule. Now she knows it's more important to change his angry mood. With this boy, she uses a light touch, a suggestion of new activities. And humor to reestablish a constructive atmosphere. But good discipline does not mean being harsh. An easy mistake to fall into is rigid discipline.
Now I want you to stand in line just like that now, and don't take your hand off the shoulder of the one in front of you.
A severe teacher can force small children to obey. But this only forces troubles underground.
Put your hand where it belongs, Anthony.
It does not teach self-control. It teaches children to hate school and teachers.
What is this book doing on the floor?
You're a bad girl, you know. You didn't pick up that book.
Because young children who are frightened or are confused
I don't like to hear that.
or who withdraw do not learn, such harsh discipline ruins the Head Start program.
That's no way to behave.
If the teacher lays down the law as a friend, not an enemy, a child can really hear what she is saying. She can maintain order and discipline without being harsh.
I'm going to put some things to do out on that table. Maybe you'd like to do those.
But sympathy and avoiding punishment do not mean that anything goes. Teachers should not be lax or permissive. If the teacher is passive or can't decide what to do, the result is disorder and chaos. Here the teacher tries to keep this boy from moving in on the girl's painting. But because inexperience causes her to be too gentle and too hesitant, he doesn't pay attention and keeps right on. Sometimes a very troubled child like Eddie, who cannot control himself, needs one adult with him constantly.
Sorry, now we've got a job to do.
This is costly in staff time, but it may be necessary for a while.
We're going to have to work pretty hard putting these all back. Yeah, we have to put them all back. We've got quite a job here. If we don't feed them. And then I could get it. We don't get up on.
The teacher makes it absolutely clear that he may not attack her.
I have to hold your hands because you're trying to hit me. I'm sick. Are you sick? Yeah. Why don't you sit down and we can talk about it a little bit? But I can't let you hit me, Eddie. We could go back over at the blocks and maybe get the truck. Michael was waiting for you over there. He's got the derrick.
Oh, look, he's dead.
No, I think you wet him. That's why he wet you.
This is my new shirt.
You know, Eddie, maybe it's better if you boys work a little bit more apart. I think it's a little easier. Because we don't wet. I'm sorry, boys, but Eddie is wet and I'm wet. I'm sorry, Eddie. It's because you wet John. It's because you wet him, he wet you.
I told my mommy on you.
But I think, you know...
She knows it will take weeks and months for all this to sink in and become self-control.
Stay in your pan right over here, John, and Eddie will work right here. Can you boys work together like this? Or do we need to move the pans? Can you work like that?
I had it first.
Do you need a little more water, John? Is that what's wrong? Well, you could take this and you could go over and get just a little more water. Eddie, this is to share.
Where there are several children like this in a group, extra teachers or volunteers will be needed. This is Charles. He is another child who requires special attention.
You need somebody to...
Though he is not as troubled as Eddie, his energy, impulsiveness, and his suspicion make him a handful. He is often at loose ends. Sometimes he is rough with equipment.
Stack them right along here. This flat. Try to put the pillows out now. Would you park that? I want it parked. Park it somewhere. Down there. All right.
He teases.
Park it, don't wreck it. Head over there by the boat, Charles. I think by the boat would be a good place. And thank you.
Often he is restless. He strikes out. He tests and evades the teacher.
No, of course not.
Don't let me jump.
No, don't jump on them, straight.
Charles. I need to pick these up because we're going to make some scrambled eggs. Let him go so he can work. You can put this one away. No, I'll put this one away. I'll show you where they go. Right here. I need a helper putting the blocks away. Don't kick it when she's on it. She'll get hurt. Let's fix it over here where it belongs. Give me a helping hand.
You should put on. Oh, get up here.
Well, that isn't putting. No, that's too high.
Why?
Why? Because you might fall and I don't want you to get hurt. Charles, listen. Now I want you out of here altogether. Away. You know where these
The teachers must pay special attention to Charles while trying to keep their tempers.
Gordon, I need you to get off that, honey. Here.
Now we have looked at groups and individuals, and we have seen the separate elements of discipline.
And I'll do it.
But the teacher does not pull out tricks of discipline one by one.
I'll show you.
She has to fit them into all that she is doing.
You would.
And Charles is not all by himself.
Right here.
The teacher copes with him and the group.
Right here. Charles is going to take care of the pan. You take care of the eggs. You take care of the paper towel. All right. It might have sounded like that. Good for you, Gordon.
I know how to do it.
He knows how to do it. He likes to do it his way. He looks at it, and he feels it,
Now move.
and he puts it back. Now it's Charles' last one, but you can wait. You're pretty good at it. Now it's Charles' turn. Wow, it went in a hurry, didn't it, Charles? Very good, thank you. There's the place for it. Whose turn is it next? I tell you what, she has a paper towel. She might give you a piece, and you could wipe your hands off. Let her give it to you. Thank you, Renee. There's a wastebasket.
Charles begins to settle down as the teacher puts him into the middle of the activity.
You following me, you two? Thank you. That was very good. It is hot. Take the toast out of the dish. Now, if you get down with it.
Through many experiences like these, Charles realizes that the teachers value him, that they recognize his rights too, that he need not always escape or fight. Now, he accepts the teacher and the rules and the other children more trustingly.
It's a ballet song, and you can dance or you can watch over here with me. I have to find the fourth song, it says.
Now Charles enters more fully into the group's activities. With friendly, firm discipline, he has become a steadier person. Out of such discipline comes self-control. Charles is beginning to take over for himself.
That was really something. Yeah, I need to look and see what that other film. It's called First Friends. Has the same vibe to it, and I think it's the same age kids. That one I think was in Connecticut, potentially, but it's the same thing. Just kids, like free range kids going nuts, pushing boundaries, all that. Just really something. So thanks for watching that. The next film we're going to watch is far more controlled. It is What is Art? Enjoy.
is made of a number of things. Of things that are dark, of things that are light, of surfaces rough and surfaces smooth, of form of line and of color. Art is made of colors bright and colors dull, of colors light and colors dark. Art is made of things that are light and of things that are dark. And of all the steps that come between. Art is made of surfaces smooth and surfaces rough. Art is made of lines. Of lines that are straight, of lines that are curved, of lines that are jagged, of lines that are thin, of lines that are thick. Art is made of forms that are weak, of forms that are strong, of forms of all kinds and shapes. Yes, art is made of a number of things, of form, of line, of things that are dark, of things that are light. of things that are smooth, of things that are rough, and of color.
All right, so there was a little bit of chaos in there, but it was okay. It was all right. We're kids like like knocking down things and all that. So a little bit of relaxation. Okay. What do we? Let's see. We have so many films to choose from here. Trying to add up the time. Yeah, let's watch this film about South Africa. Specifically pottery on the Gold Coast.
This is one of a series of films about Africa and shows something of the way of life of the people of the Gold Coast. Pottery making is one of the oldest crafts known to mankind. Indeed, remains of prehistoric pottery tell us much of what we know about bygone civilizations. In Africa, this ancient craft has been practiced for thousands of years. Now, as a result of experiments made at Achimota College, this government training center has been set up at Alajo in the Gold Coast colony to bring to Africans some of the skill and methods developed by potters in other countries. Clay is the all-essential raw material. Before use, it is weathered by exposure to the elements to bring about physical and chemical changes which make it more suitable for manipulation. There are many different kinds of clay, and the qualities of every deposit must be carefully studied to avoid difficulties in shaping and firing. From the pits, the weathered clay is taken to dumps to be mixed with water and go through various processes to make it easily workable. One of the most important of these processes is a kind of kneading, or pugging as the potters call it. This is done by a pug mill, in which spiral revolving blades knead the clay into a mass of uniform texture. Damp but firmly compressed, it is now ready for the potters. First, the clay is wedged. The object is to remove air pockets and any irregularities of texture which would cause defects when the finished article is fired. A brass wire is used to cut the mass roughly in half. Then one half is smashed firmly down on the other. This is repeated several times till the clay is ready for use. Next, the clay, in balls of the right uniform weight for the job in hand, goes to the potter, who literally throws the ball of clay onto the dead center of a rotating wheel. Hence, this is called throwing. The speed of the wheel is regulated to suit the type of work. The potter's tools are his fingers and thumbs. His work is an art which he acquires through long practice. Originating in Asia in the distant past, the potter's wheel was unknown in many parts of Africa until recently. This age-old method is still the most universal basis of all good pottery making. When the desired shape is achieved, in this case a plate, the potter draws a brass wire across the surface of the wheel and removes the plate, which is set aside to dry. When it has dried to a state known as leather hard or green hard, it is replaced upside down on the wheel or put onto a special lathe and finished with variously shaped steel tools. This brings it down to the exact size desired and gives it a smooth surface all over. The process is known as turning and is used when a fairly highly finished article is required. The potter's work is now finished. If the plate passes inspection and is satisfactory, it is stamped and is then ready for glazing and firing. When primitive man discovered that from moistened clay he could make vessels in which to cook and store his food, he made a big step forward. Planned housekeeping took the place of hand-to-mouth living, and he began to think in terms of a permanent home. Here, from a lump of clay, you will see a thing of beauty grow before your eyes. The scene needs only one explanation. The metal bar extending from the stand on the left of the screen is there to control the maximum girth. The process is the same as for plate making, but the degree of skill is greater. Manpower turns the potter's wheel. Most pottery is highly porous, and especially that made from earthenware clays. So, to make it hold liquids, a coating of glaze must be applied. This also imparts smoothness, making the ware easier to clean. Next, the articles are baked in a kiln at temperatures ranging up to 700 degrees or even higher. Some kinds are fired before and after glazing. When the kiln has cooled, it is opened. With the high temperatures used, cooling takes about 3 days.
Looks like the splice broke. I was wrong. That was not South Africa. That was the Gold Coast in Africa. And the Ministry of Information, I'm not sure who that was. Ministry of Information, was that British? Because Gold Coast was a British colony. Yeah, I'm not sure. But what I am sure of is the next film we're going to watch is Common Fallacies About Group Differences. And this film came out, I want to say in the 50s, early 50s. And this is really trying to address a post-war issue that they knew, which was that there was still racism, the country was still divided based on different things, politics, religion, all these things. And they knew that that's what led to fascist government, because they had just defeated them. And so this film is trying to figure out a way to address those. It's called Common Fallacies About Group Differences, and it's pretty great. It's something that I think there should be a contemporary version of this. So here's the film. Enjoy.
In the drowsy days between summer session and fall term, the college campus seems to fall asleep. Even those who are not away are usually thinking more of play than of study. But the love of learning that animates the classroom is never really absent, even when the room is temporarily taken over by the painters and plasterers. Wherever two or three are gathered together, there you will find the play of man's restless intellect among the great ideas.
Listen, any American can beat any 10 Frenchmen. Trouble with the French race is they're all too excitable. It's in their blood. You know, the Latin temperament. And I ought to know, my sister's married to one.
Oh, no! That's absolutely wrong.
Oh, yeah? What's wrong?
What's wrong? Everything. A, there is no French race. B, there is no Latin temperament. C, the people who speak the Latin languages are neither all excitable nor all anything. D, behavior is not simply a matter of heredity. E, heredity is not in the blood. F, the fact that you happen to know one specimen of anything is no evidence that other specimens are the same. Please, remain where you are. I'll explain. May I have your attention here at the board again? To begin with, there is no French race. As a matter of fact, it's not easy to state just what a race is. The most widely accepted modern definition says it is a group of people with certain physical traits in common based on a common heredity. The question is, which traits? Once upon a time, the answer seemed obvious: skin color. Today, we know this classification doesn't work at all, because skin coloring may shade off continuously from light to dark within a single biological group, so that there was no point at which we could say one race ended and another began. As a result, many individuals didn't have the right coloring to go with their alleged race. For example, you could find plenty of members of the so-called brown race, members of the so-called white race, and so on. So you see, classification of man into 5 races based on skin color wasn't at all satisfactory. In attempting to find a better classification, modern anthropologists have turned to more reliable traits, such as body build, cephalic index, nasal index, facial structure, eye color, color and texture of the hair. One racial classification based on such traits, and widely used today, lists 3 major races: Caucasian, Mongoloid, and Negroid, plus a doubtful category for those that don't seem to fit anywhere else. These are further divided into 15 sub-races. But even with this classification, we run into difficulty, which we can see by considering the characteristics of 3 of the sub-races within the Caucasian group. We know, of course, which traits are supposed to belong to each of these sub-races. The Alpine, characteristically, has a broad head, medium stature, and brown hair. The Mediterranean, a narrow head, medium to short stature, and dark brown or black hair. The Nordic has a narrow head, tall stature, and blonde hair. However, the more we study these things, the less simple they become. These various traits refuse to stay put. For example, we find individuals with the short, stocky body of the Mediterranean, the round skull of the Alpine, and the blonde hair coloring of the Nordic. Nature, apparently unimpressed by our earnest efforts at classification, creates such wrong combinations by the millions in every part of the world. The biological concept of race, gentlemen, cannot be applied to individuals as simply as is popularly believed. But no matter what classification you apply, if the word race means an inherited physical type, then almost every existing nation would include not just one race, but many races. The French nation, for example, includes Nordics, Alpines, and Mediterraneans, the percentages varying as you move from one part of the country to another. In short, a nation is not a race. There is no such thing as the French race, any more than there is an English race, German race, or American race. Neither is there any such thing as a specific Latin temperament. The word Latin refers only to a group of languages spoken by various countries whose populations may or may not resemble each other in other ways. Actually, a sampling of the peoples who speak the Latin tongues would turn up a very wide range of behavior patterns, differing sharply from nation to nation. Such a sampling would have to include not only the people of France, but also of Romania, Spain, Italy, Portugal, South and Central America, Mexico, and Cuba. People in all these countries speak the Latin languages, yet their behavior differs widely from country to country. Therefore, all people who speak the Latin tongues are not all excitable, nor all anything. And now for the major fallacy, the belief that group differences in behavior are the result of heredity. Down through the ages, people have more or less taken it for granted that a Japanese child, for example, inherits his distinctive behavior, his gestures, his manners, his attitudes toward life, just as he inherits the color of his eyes and the shape of his nose. This belief, which has had an important and sometimes an unfortunate influence on human relations, was not confined to the uneducated. English literature, including the best of Shakespeare, is full of references to English blood and noble ancestry as supposedly decisive factors in determining noble behavior. Now let's look at the scientific evidence. In modern times, many hundreds of careful studies have been made to test this theory that group differences in behavior are hereditary. Yet in all the books and articles that have been published describing these studies to date, not one shred of positive evidence in favor of the theory has ever been reported. On the contrary, a great deal of evidence is accumulated which shows that people acquire their behavior as they acquire their speech from the culture they grow up in. It isn't easy to carry out scientific experiments in the field of group differences. As a rule, the most we can do is to study and observe, as this anthropologist is doing with a group of South Sea Island children. However, an experiment of sorts was made, quite unintentionally, but on an enormous scale in the 18th and 19th centuries. A large number of West Africans was forcibly uprooted from their own culture and set down 3,000 miles away in a totally different culture. some of the folkways these African tribesmen brought with them have persisted, influencing our culture in various ways. But despite many factors tending to perpetuate the African group as a group, a number of their descendants are today indistinguishable from Americans of other stocks, except by their physical appearance. Obviously, these people would be no more at home in an African village than their tribal ancestors would have been in an operating room. In short, so far as we can tell now, group differences in behavior are the result of learning, not heredity. And, of course, biologists today know that the physical traits that distinguish one race from another are not transmitted by the blood, but by the genes. Many fallacies about group differences can be traced to the bad habit of generalizing from selected cases. This young man notices how excitable his French brother-in-law is, but conveniently forgets the millions of French people he's never met. The behavior of isolated cases should not be overgeneralized to represent the behavior of a group. Just a moment, young man. I have a feeling there was one more fallacy in your statement.
All I said was one American can beat 10 Frenchmen.
At what?
At anything. Baseball.
Ah, yes, that was it. Thank you. The fallacy of the ethnocentered criterion.
Which?
Well, let me put it this way. Would you care to bet a week's pay you could beat 10 Frenchmen at, let us say, fencing? You see, Bill, a skill typical of one culture is not a proper yardstick for general comparisons between cultures. Now then, let's take another look at these fallacies we've been discussing. A nation is not a race, for any nation includes many inherited physical types. B, there is no such thing as a Latin temperament, for the behavior of the people in the various Latin-speaking countries varies widely from country to country. C, people who speak these Latin tongues are never all excitable or all anything, nor are the members of any group. D, group differences in behavior are the results of learning, not heredity. E, hereditary traits are transmitted not by the blood, but by the genes. F, the behavior of isolated cases should not be overgeneralized to represent the behavior of everyone in a group. And finally, a skill typical of one culture is never a proper yardstick for general comparisons between cultures. Now, let me leave you with just one more thought. Many popular notions about races, heredity, and group differences are completely wrong, when they are not completely meaningless. But the trouble is, when it comes to human relations, most of us tend to cherish beliefs and ignore facts.
I don't care what the guy said. I still say, one American can lick any 10 Frenchmen.
See what I mean?
Wow. That show that and the film Despotism. Just, you're gonna go on TikTok, you gotta watch these two videos first. You're gonna go on YouTube, you're gonna comment, you gotta watch. You gotta sign off that you've watched these two things first. Holy cow. So good. I mean, it certainly, there's some dated stuff in there, but the People cherish beliefs and ignore the facts. Oh my gosh. I mean, teaching fallacies, logic fallacies especially, that's lost. Man, that should be required. You can't get your diploma, your high school diploma, unless you know all the logic fallacies, because they are used all the time. Fallacies all the time. But man, phenomenal. Thanks for joining us today. It was all over the place, wasn't it? I love it. If you like what you saw, buy us some coffee. Go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks and buy us some delicious bean brain juice. I mean, that's what I should call it. That's how we get our caffeine here at AV Geeks. You can also donate at patreon.com/avgeeks. And also, we have a 24/7 channel. You can go to avgeeks.com and see it. But at the very least, just hit that like button. Hit that thumbs up button. Smash that subscribe button, the notification bell, all those things, those weird things, to say, hey, we like what AV Geeks are doing, and we would like to continue seeing it, and we would like other people to continue seeing it. Thanks again for tuning in. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Be aware that the 919 Rewind Devil is out there. So we will see you tomorrow. Take care.